Today's workout was really good. Always love training with JP because it really pushes me. I think like, I remember at one point in my life, probably when I first started, when I actually trained hard. And then when you get into powerlifting, you're always trying to stay within the RP 6-7 range. That like, I kind of forget what it feels like to really push yourself.
Just keep going.
Yeah, in a hard set and then partials and more. So like the pump that I get training with you is fucking insane.
I feel like it's just a big mental difference for powerlifters versus bodybuilders. And I actually fell into that, I would say maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, where I was like, oh, I'm gonna really go hard with like making sure my recovery is as best as it can be. So I would try and stop within that, you know, like 3-4 reps before failure.
Yeah.
But I think I just ended up training so far away from failure that my progress basically stalled out for like 6-7 months.
Oh.
So now it's just like, I may as well just go balls to the wall and make sure that I'm going to failure rather than, you know, maybe I'm there, maybe I'm not. Because it's really hard to gauge, especially for a lot of people that don't train to failure. Because how are you gonna know what 2 reps before failure is if you've never hit failure, you know?
Or even like, I think like one thing I gained a lot in training with you is kind of like the partials game.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it feels like RPE, like let's say even 9.9, right? And you go for a partial, and the partial is almost 3/4 of the rep.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh shit, had I not done this partial, I would have actually stopped like further away. But then you do 3/4, half, and then maybe like 2.25. I don't know if the math works out that way.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you physically pushed yourself to a RPE like 11, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, like the muscle is still working through that range of motion, so I still think it's beneficial. Like for example, on those upper back rows we did earlier, you kept going with partials, and I think that's really nice to do on especially upper back rows, because what's doing this motion now? The rear delts are still doing that motion. So I think if you're trying to get as much as you can out of like that upper back row, then just keep banging it out, you know?
Yeah.
Especially if your form is still like maintaining throughout that.
So we started off with my favorite exercise, weighted pull-ups.
Yeah, we were supposed to start with calves.
We're supposed to start with calves. If you're running this program, Stud Muffins, start with calves. Especially if your body is shaped like mine, where I never hit calves for like 2 decades. It's really important to prioritize your weakness, because chances are you probably like hitting back. I think most people do. But if you're gonna step on stage, if you're trying to build that like overall physique, you gotta focus on the stuff that you're lacking rather than like the fun stuff. So we start off with some weighted pull-ups. And we crushed it there too. We went from...
I think that was a major key he just dropped right there though. Because like you said, a lot of people do the fun stuff they like first, but in reality, if you want to prioritize something, that should go first, which is what people usually put at the end, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, I had my dessert, now it's time to have this shitty broccoli, whatever, you know, whatever, the calves.
After that, then we caught up with calves, did what we're supposed to do. We pushed it super hard there. Any tips you want to give on calves?
So, I was telling Bart earlier in calves, I would definitely make sure that you're focusing on that stretch part, so coming up as much as you can through that stretch, just because a lot of people will kind of just bounce right out of that, maybe never even reach the stretch, and you see a lot of these just bouncy looking calf raises like this that people are doing, but it's not necessarily going to be nearly as effective as getting that full range of motion and holding that stretch at the bottom. So I think that's even more beneficial than just working in that top range.
One thing I've been learning with bodybuilding is whatever feels more painful is probably best for you. Like no one likes eccentrics. No one likes holding the stretched position. People like to be in the flexed position. No one likes doing partials after you're already maxed out on reps. But those are literally like the growth areas.
The body is very good at being efficient and cheating essentially for exercises where you want to make it harder for certain muscle groups that you're trying to train. Like going back to your pull-ups, like his body knows he's stronger mechanically here, so that's why he started to drift forward versus staying out here. But you're weak in this position here, so that's what you really want to be focused on in training. So like I like to think elbow to hip for that versus, you know, letting them drift forward. So just another example of how that happens.
So after that, we hit we did upper back, then we hit lower back, right, or low lat.
So actually, this row here is really nice for like upper to mid lat.
Okay, upper. To mid lat.
So that's usually what I'll use it for, especially when you're using like a nice neutral grip handle like that. You keep the arms tight into the side. You really get that nice contraction as you come back.
Yeah, we went ham on that too. Super heavy. Probably the first 4 reps are complete, and then the next 3 or 4 are all partials. But we really pushed it. And then we went to a dumbbell curl, where it's like tricep supported.
Upper arm against the pull down machine?
Yeah, so it's like really isolated. And I like kind of bouncing back and forth because I really like barbell curls, but I do cheat a lot. And I know that one's more for fun and it feels good, but if I'm getting closer and closer to a show, I really gotta have like my bicep like squeeze and flex.
You ever tried strict curls though? Because I was doing that for a while. It was like a mix of both, you know?
Yeah,
I really enjoy that. Jimmy put me onto that.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing, kind of like almost every other week I'll go back to something that's extremely isolated so I could really get that. Because who knows, if I'm doing this, I might just be training my hips.
Super easy, you can use your glutes, your calves, everything. Yeah, shoulders.
Yeah, so that's our intense back and calves training session. Don't forget to hit calves first. And like the rest of the series, me and JP are training our asses off for a bodybuilding show, so stay tuned for the big finale at the end. If you want to put on muscle with us, if you want to get lean with us, you want to get jacked with us, you want to become a stud muffin with us, check out the program in the link below, Stud Muffins. See you guys in the next episode.